Today marks 2 weeks since the start of the Israel-Hamas war, and since then, tens of thousands of Palestinians have been forced to flee their homes. There are fears that the threat of an Israeli ground offensive could make an already fraught humanitarian crisis even worse. The United Nations estimates that more than 1 million people in Gaza are displaced as a result of this conflict. That represents nearly half of the 2.3 million civilians who live in a tightly packed territory. Many of them are finding temporary shelter, but questions remain about where Palestinian refugees can go beyond the Gaza Strip, especially after leaders of Egypt and Jordan just this week cautioned other Middle East countries from taking them in. Imad Harb is the Director of Research and Analysis at the Arab Center Washington, a nonprofit independent think tank. Mr. Harb, thank you so much for making time for us today.
Thank you very much for hosting me.
Mr. Harb, I have to tell you, many of us were surprised when we saw the statements coming from the King of Jordan, King Abdullah, saying absolutely no. No refugees from Palestinian territories into Jordan, no Palestinian refugees into Egypt. Why such a strong statement from the King of Jordan?
Well, Natasha, the issue here is it's actually not a humanitarian issue. I mean, the King of Jordan or the President of Egypt are not just being against humanitarian assistance to the Palestinian refugees. The problem is, twice before, in 1948 and in 1967, there were exoduses of Palestinian refugees from first today's Palestine and later on from the West Bank, where they went into neighboring countries, never to return. So this would, Arab countries and the Palestinians themselves are seeing this as, this is not a temporary relocation, resettlement until military activity ceases. They see it as yet a third expulsion of Palestinians from their traditional ancestral homeland, and that's why they're rejecting it. This is the general ideological nationalist kind of look at it, but also from an interest point of view, neither Jordan nor Egypt are equipped to really take in more people. They have their own economic, social, and political problems, and they do not really want to add yet one more dimension to those problems.
We also heard from President Fattah al-Sisi of Egypt that there was some concern that if there is a mass exodus from the Gaza Strip into Egypt, that potentially Hamas militants will enter into Egyptian territory, putting Egypt's relationship with Israel and the West in danger. What's your read of that concern?
That's a national security concern for the Egyptian government. Everybody, all governments are concerned about this. Jordan would also be concerned about that. Refugees normally are not just simply people who are expelled from their homeland. There are a lot of also fighters that might also leave with the refugees. But I honestly don't think that this is really a major concern. I don't think that Hamas is interested in using the refugees as human shields to leave to Egypt or to Jordan. I think Hamas is more interested today in holding its ground in Gaza. I don't think that fighters will be infiltrating the refugees and going out with them to Egypt or to Jordan.
Let's talk about what's happening in Cairo right now with this peace summit. We've got international leaders there, including representatives of the Canadian government, talking about how best to move forward. Now, Israel is not part of that conversation, but do you think anything substantial for ordinary civilian Palestinians is going to come out of that meeting today and tomorrow?
I doubt that, honestly. I think the action is in Israeli hands and American hands. I don't think that Arab countries are going to be able to influence what's going on the ground there. Israel refuses to cease fire. The United States refuses to accept a resolution by the Security Council for a ceasefire. So I think it's very nice, very welcome that international and regional states are meeting in Cairo to discuss this issue. But I wonder if if they will have any influence on anything, except maybe issue statements, announcements, things like that, supporting ceasefires or supporting humanitarian assistance to the people who are suffering today. But I really don't think that it's going to be really making Israel move or the United States change its position on this issue.
Returning to the issue of Arab states, neighboring Arab states, and then some of the Gulf states who are not signatories to the UN refugee agreements. They don't recognize having refugees in their states. So
that's correct.
It leaves Palestinians who will need refuge in a difficult situation. And this is a conversation that's been coming up for so many decades. Has the rest of the Arab world abandoned Palestinians?
No, that it has actually not abandoned Palestinians. I personally think that the position on the Palestinians not leaving their homeland is the right decision. Obviously, there is a lot of hardship, a lot of killing, a lot of massacres that are taking place against Palestinians. But the issue of creating yet more, one more Palestinian refugee issue, I don't think that should happen. I think Israel should allow Palestinians to remain on their land. I think, honestly, Israel should just simply end its occupation and accept a Palestinian state where Palestinians can return and live in peace with Israel.
A Palestinian state led by who, sir? Who is best equipped to lead to a peaceful...
The Palestinians can elect their own direct leaders who can lead them and who can help them establish that state. I think that democracy in Palestine, just like it is important in the United States and Israel, it's also important in Palestine and in other Arab states. I think Palestinians should be allowed to establish a state that is run by them, led by them, and its leaders be elected by Palestinians.
The options so far for Palestinians seem to be between Hamas, which for many is not optimal, and the Palestinian...
I don't think Hamas is a true representative of the Palestinian people. It is one faction, one political faction and military faction among the Palestinians. There are a lot of Palestinians who are opposed to Hamas, who call for democracy in their nation, who calls for national independence in their nation without killing of civilians or taking of hostages. And I don't think that the Israeli government or the American government are helping those people to really say what they need to say and establish a Palestinian state.
Do you think the Palestinian Authority or some formation of the PLO or the Fatah, is there anything like that? Who can speak for a united democratic Palestinian nation?
Palestinian authorities, the Palestinian Authority and Palestinian institutions as a whole have lost their credibility among the Palestinian people. These authorities and these institutions do not represent the Palestinians. They're full of corruption and nepotism and anti-democratic politics. I don't think they're representative. I think there should be elections. There haven't been elections in Palestinian territories for the last 16 years, 17 years, and it's time to elect a new parliament in Palestine, a new presidency in Palestine, and appoint a truly independent government that can really re-establish Palestinian political life.
Imad Harb, a real pleasure to speak with you, sir. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.